I think this is really great way for someone who's just getting started. Like you mentioned in the beginning, if you don't have the budget to start doing your own acquisition, right? Start on the disposition side. Work with your buyers. I think I want to go back to kind of how like finding buyer. I think title company and hard money lenders, a lot of people don't look into that, but I think those are like probably two of the best ways to find buyers. Hi, Nathan, if you want to give a quick intro and then, I'll have you lead the call.
Yeah, of course. My name's Nathan Payne. I don't know if any of you guys have know of me or have heard about me, but basically what I do is I teach people how to get their first or next deal with little to no marketing spend, and actually like zero marketing spend. Because I ran a big wholesaling company. And when the, we had like 7 employees, we had a bunch of VAs, we were spending like $20, $30, $40,000 a month on marketing. And when the pandemic hit, it was a lot harder to sell the deals. I had a business partner at the time, and we were, instead of just, he didn't really want to do it anymore. He's like, I don't really want to do this business. So he bailed. And I was like, man, how can I get deals, without having to spend all this money? I don't want to have all this overhead. So then I came up with, I refined the strategy that I've always used throughout my doing business for like several years, which I call the painless flipping method. Since my last name is Payne, I call what I do painless. It's easy. It's not that hard. Anybody can do it. But yeah, that's what I do. So today I'd like to show you guys a little bit about it, talk to you guys about it. But that's me, Nathan Payne, and I show people how to do painless flipping.
Awesome, man. Do you have a presentation you'll be sharing, or kind of how do you want to go about this?
I have a presentation I can share you guys. I don't know the format of what's best for this call. I don't know if it's like Q&A, if I should just share kind of the presentation itself, or I don't know what.
Yeah, it's up to you, man. Whatever you think will add the most value to the people on the call. Do that. If you have a presentation, you have access to share your screen if you want to do that. Okay. Or if you want to just kind of, lay the groundwork, and then we can just open it up for Q&A.
Let's lay the groundwork. I think what would be a little bit better than just kind of talking theory is I can show you guys exactly how to do what I do, and then we can open up the Q&A. Is that cool?
That sounds great, man.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about how I came to where I came up with this method. So I don't know about a lot of you. I don't know how your skill levels, or if a lot of you have been in the game for a while, but when I first started, I didn't really know how to market. I just started knocking doors because I came from a door-to-door background, and that's how I got a couple of my first deals. I was just cold calling a lot myself. And once I finally got some deals from that hard work, then I put it into marketing. And I got a coach, and he was like, just mail. So I was like, okay, let me just mail. So I spent, he said, spend $5,000 on mail. And I was like, well, I'll spend 10,000 because I believe that if I just double up, I'll be able to get more deals. So I spent $10,000 and I didn't get a deal. Okay. And it was just like really painstaking. I don't know if you guys, if you want to say in the chat, if that's ever happened to you when you first started, if you just spent money and, with the expectation of getting a deal and it doesn't work out. Let's make this interactive because, I don't want to just talk the whole time. So, yeah, so we got, I think that's Sharad, right?
Yeah, definitely happened. I remember the first time I sent the mail, I didn't have any system processes. I just sent the mail out and nothing. I was just expecting, and this is like about 10 years ago, just expecting the deals to just start flowing in. But
that was my expectation. Yeah, that was my expectation. So, by going more into depth, like now with understanding how to market, like obviously you don't want to just send one giant blast of mail out. You want to be consistent. You want to hit the right list. You want to do it over time. But I didn't know that. So I'm on a mission to kind of help those newer investors like I was, that instead of just going out and being like, okay, let me just spend money and then I'll expect a return. That's not usually how it works because that's what I've seen. So there's better ways to go about getting a deal, in my opinion, fast. I just, and I'll explain how I did. And I actually have this scenario, well, not scenario, but this example. I just went to the Orlando market last week. Okay. Cause I always like refining and showing how my process works. So I went to the Orlando market last week. I reached out to a wholesaler. And I had buyers. I called buyers and got buyers in this market of Orlando. And then I started calling wholesalers that had deals that needed to be moved. And I talked to a wholesaler and I said, hey, is it cool if I just bring a buyer to your deal and add my fee on top? And he was like, yeah, of course. Sure. Why not? And then, so I talked to the guy on Wednesday, and by Friday, I made, I think I made like 4 calls. Actually, I'm working with my partner, but he made 4 calls, and out of the 4 calls, 3 people didn't answer. On the 4th call, the guy that answered ended up buying the deal. So we got it under contract and assigned it. So again, from finding a wholesaler that had a deal to 4 calls later, which is 2 days, but we didn't work the deal the 2 days, but let's just say 2 days for the sake of time, to assigning this deal. And it was a $3,000 fee. We're not like trying to crush it and make 15, 20, like whatever on these deals. We're really just trying to do volume. So that's cool. It's a cool example. It just happened and we signed the deal. The guy put down $7,500, and I'll explain to you guys how this all works, the painless flipping way. And I think this is good because whether or not you have a large operation that does a lot of wholesale deals, this strategy of being able to like be super targeted on what your buyers want. And when you see other wholesalers, other agents that have deals that meet the criteria of your buyers, you just immediately just go bring the deal to your buyer, obviously by reaching out to the wholesaler first and seeing if they're cool with that. And you can do more deals that way with little to no marketing spend. Okay. And it's not so much like I'm doing this with every deal. It has to meet the right criteria. It has to, work, right? Or else you're just wasting your time if you're willing to do this with every deal out there, because there's thousands of deals out there that stink. All right. So let me share my screen and I'll share this process with you guys. Okay. Does anyone have any questions before I get into sharing my screen about like what I'm talking about and just anything?
Yeah, so you basically have a very niche list of buyers that you're reaching out to and just putting them together with exactly the kind of deal that they want.
Exactly. And I'm not telling you guys to do like get 1,000 buyers or 100. We do like with 5 to 10 legit solid buyers that we build relationships with, where we can get them to respond, because the biggest problem with dispositions is people just don't answer their phone. Like a buyer, if you send out an email blast and text blast, you don't know if they're going to look at that deal within your 7-day due diligence period or not. You don't know if they're, if they looked at it and they think it's a bad deal. What we do is we build those relationships so we get those responses and they say, great deal, bad deal. And then we negotiate and say, well, what would make this a deal? Because we want to get it sold. So we want their feedback, right? So yes, that's exactly right.
So what happens in the case that, let's say the buyer has already looked at their deal, and then you're sending them the deal that they've already looked at. Let's say I get an email from a wholesaler about a deal, and then you call me a couple of days later with the exact same deal. Like, what happens in that case?
Great question. So a lot of the like I'd say majority of the time when I call the wholesaler, I try to get additional information and try to find out where where they have it under contract for, or like how I can bring more additional value to my buyer. So when I call that buyer and he's like, oh, I already saw that deal, I'd say, oh, that's totally fine. I actually think I can get you probably a better deal than what you would do if you just got yourself. I have some information that might help you win this deal. Right. So, but if he's like, no, I'm already working with the other wholesaler and I'm talking to him, then obviously I'm not going to bother. But if he just got an email and he hasn't done anything about it, we get those all the time where we'll do deals with buyers that have seen the email, but just didn't take action.
Got it. So you're trying to convert the buyers that have already seen, not taken action, or they may not have like really looked into it. They may not know all the details about the deal. You're just trying to convert them into an actual buyer.
Right, because a majority of the emails that go out, I get them all too. I don't have the time to look at every single one. When you look at the ARV, it's inflated. The rehabs are wrong. So a lot of the time buyers probably get these, but they don't take enough time to really dive into them. We're going in there and we're being like, hey, you should look into this one. It does meet your criteria. I think this is perfect for you. You just got to take a little bit deeper of a look. And it's the relationship that gets it done, because I had a deal that one of my friends that was using Investor Lift or something like that, and he was from Atlanta, but he does nationwide. So he got a deal in Utah, where I'm from, and he had sent it out, and he wasn't getting any love on it. So I reached out to some of my buyers about it, and they're like, oh, I think I have this one in my inbox. I'm like, well, did you look at it? He's like, yeah, I didn't really look. I saw it, but I didn't really pay much attention. I was like, well, I'm working with the wholesaler now. I think it's a good deal. I think I can get you something that will work for you. So even though that wholesaler had that buyer on his list, he didn't know the guy, right? The
So it provides
relationship.
more personalized service to the buyers, right?
Yeah, because
and this way.
and they get us paid, right? Like they're the ones that
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you don't have any marketing costs. You just have a very, very niche list of buyers, and you're just connecting them with the deal and then providing them, like, walking them through the numbers. I like that. I think that's a great way to get started for someone who just getting started, and they work on the buyers, they work on the dispo side rather than on the marketing side.
Right. Because, I would say 90% of wholesaling companies, they focus on acquisitions. They want to find the deal, they want to negotiate it, and then they give themselves like 7, 14, 5 days of due diligence, and then they scramble to find a buyer, right? Sometimes it's very what's the word? Not exhausting, but it can be very stressful when you're like, especially if the seller, like, you negotiate, but they give you little time. That happens a lot when they have a lot of competition. They're like, I don't want to get tied up for that long. You got 5 days or whatever. So we'll sometimes not even need a due diligence period, and we'll just be like, let me just get back to you. We can just walk it right now, and then we can give you 100%. So yeah, my focus for everyone here is you need to focus a little bit more on dispositions and the end in mind client that we have, and that's the buyer that pays us when you're wholesaling. So
cool.
That's what.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and share your screen.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so guys, here is the painless flipping timeline. This is what I teach, and it obviously goes way more in depth than this, but we'll start here. Okay, so the first thing that's extremely important for everyone, guys, is picking a market. Now, if you're brand new, you want to pick one market. If you're brand new and you're starting in 7 different markets, or, even like 2, that can be extremely difficult. The power of being able to sell deals is understanding and mastering your market, knowing, okay, this is a good area. Maybe a wholesaler in Kentucky found a deal in Utah, doesn't know that this area sells for more than, across the highway, across the block. And, I have that information, I have that intel, and I have great buyers there. So you want to start with picking one market so you can master it. I have experience because I went nationwide for like 2 years. I did fine, made money, but it was very stressful because every new lead you got was almost in a new area where you had to build new relationships and new deals. It was too much. So, I go back to one area, and that's what I suggest. Okay. So once you pick your one market, and with this method that I'm teaching of, like, painless flipping, going and finding deals that are already for sale from agents or wholesalers, you want to go to an area that has a lot of activity. You don't want to be doing this in the middle of nowhere, because then there's no deals to help move, right? So you want to pick major metros. And major metros are where flippers are buying anyway. So finding buyers is gonna be easy. Okay, number 1 is title companies. How are you going to find buyers? I like reaching out to title companies. I like reaching out to them and saying, hey, my name's Nathan. I'm new to the area. I don't want to start flipping yet, but I do come across deals all the time. Are there any buyers that you can recommend to me that I could bring deals to? And kind of explain how you provide value. I specifically look for deals that meet the criteria. A lot of title companies will give you their top buyer or a buyer they know, and they'll give you that warm handoff. They'll say, hey, yeah, this is John. And then that way, when you call John, it's not like a cold outreach. It's someone that you have a warm touch to. And you can say, hey, John, I just talked to Christina at GT Title. She told me you're the perfect person to work with. I was wondering if I could chat with you a little bit about your buying criteria and see if I could bring you some deals so we can get this done. So that's title companies is a great strategy. Hard money lenders is also good because they know who's buying and who's looking for a deal. So you can find buyers through hard money lenders. Real estate agents, we use real estate agents all the time for finding buyers. We pay them their commission. We negotiate their commission. We just say, hey, if you have a buyer that would be interested in this deal, we'd be willing to pay you for bringing the buyer. Okay. And then you negotiate it $2,000-$3,000. You can build a buyer's list. Like 2 years ago, I purchased a buyer's list that was like 1.3 million buyers across the United States. It's not, I'll tell you, because I spent $25,000 on the list. I'll tell you that it's not so much the list, it's the relationships that you build with the people on the list. So just because you can send something out doesn't mean it will get sold. Okay. Let's see. think someone's asked. Okay, that's AI assistant. I thought that was a question. Social media posts also finds buyers. You can find buyers on marketplace platforms as well, hedge funds and REI meetups. Okay, so I'm going to show you a specific deal case study that I did. It took me, I think it took me 3 hours to do a $7,000 wholesale fee, 3 hours, and no market, no spend or anything. And I'll show you that this shows you the whole process. So I asked my title company lady for a buyer. Said, hey, Christina, do you know anyone that's buying in Ogden? Okay, it's one of the cities that are out here. She said, I'm asking some people. She puts me in a group text with the buyer, says, hey, Scott, meet Nathan. Then I text Scott and I say, hey, when can you hop on a phone call? Okay, so I've actually sold Scott a couple deals since we've connected because I know his criteria and we have that warm handoff and it was, it's good. So once I got Scott's info from the title company, I started getting the buyer's criteria. Okay. Why would they want to work with you? If you don't provide value to them, they're just obviously you're just another wholesaler. So you want to say, hey, look, I'm specifically going to look for properties that meet your criteria. So I really need to find out what you're looking for. I don't want to bring you something that you're not interested in. And I definitely don't want to just blow you up where we don't talk anymore. The key to this is communication. So I'm specific. And you can also use agents as well and get the criteria of their buyers. So you got to ask the right questions. Okay. So once you have the buyers and you know where you're looking, what do? Okay. Well, you got to go search for deals. Now, contrary to what a lot of people believe, there's no deals out there, but that's not true. There's thousands and thousands of deals out there. Let me just show you guys something right here. This is my email. These are all deals that are getting sent to me right now. Just today, this morning, like, look at this, look at this, look at this. And all I have to do is run my analysis, see if it makes sense for my buyer, and then I send it to them. So where do you search for these deals? Well, I just showed you. You can get wholesalers send you emails. So email blasts, network, and call them Facebook groups. Online platforms. There's online platforms that actually specifically put deals on there, and you can just snipe those deals and bring them to your buyers. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Sunday.com. They kind of went down recently, but I was doing deals on Sunday.com like that, like 50,000. Like these were big spreads because my buyers just don't know about these platforms. So you got InvestorLift, Sunday, Property Source, Trelly. I haven't used these two, but I know those are platforms. So you can look at deals in specific areas for your buyers, real estate agents, Privy, Pocket Listings, and you just build relationships. So this specific deal, we're going back to the case study, is got the buyer, asked him what he wanted, got an email from a wholesaler in my market. And I was like, oh, he likes this street. He likes this area. He likes Murray. Found deal by being on their buyers list. So what did I do? I quickly analyzed the deal. And guys, by the way, I didn't even analyze it. I just said, hey, that's the street he likes. Let me just ask him if he wants to buy, like if he's interested. So I didn't run comps. Don't even know what the house looks like still. I just knew. And I have a relationship where if I can just send him some, he'll just run comps. And he's just like, thanks for the opportunity. But before I did that, I wanted to call the wholesaler just to make sure I wasn't wasting my time. Okay. Because I didn't want to just send this to him if it's already under contract. So the next step is analyze deal motivation and, reach out to the wholesaler that has the deal. So here's some text conversations I had with the wholesaler. Hey, Brandy, this is Nathan. I have a buyer who's looking for a flip in that area. Can I call you tomorrow? She's like, yeah, here's the walkthrough. And I said, I have a buyer that's interested, but they're actually lower their purchase price that they've offered me, because he actually gave me the offer price. I said, it's lower than what you're asking for. Is it worth it to send them to the walkthrough? And she was like, I don't know if it's worth it. We don't even have it for lower than what he offered. So I was like, whatever. We still hopped on the phone. I talked to her and, built that relationship with that wholesaler. She then texts me like 2 days later and is like, hey, Nate, can you try running this deal again by your buyers? We're going to have to take it down. We didn't find any buyers for it, but I'd really like to just get rid of it. Let's see. I think there was one text where she said okay, right here. Hey, Nathan, do you have anyone that would be interested in Cottonwood Heights at 405? I can check. We close Monday. Okay, so you plan on buying it if you don't have a buyer. So she's telling me, yes, I plan on buying it, but she didn't want to. Okay, so this is all I did. I analyzed it. and I reached out to my buyer, and this is what I said to my buyer. I sent him the email and I said, hey, they have it under contract for 400,000 and are planning on buying it on Monday. But they asked me to reach out and see if I had a buyer interested that would pay more so they could, so they don't have to flip it. Let me know if you're interested. Okay, I'm interested. Okay, so from that point, it was one text message and a phone call to the wholesaler. He's like, yeah, I'll do it, but 400,000 is tight. Then I was like, well, look, we got to get paid. He's like, well, what do you need? And I was like, can you do 407? He's like, okay, cool. And it closed like 2 days later. Okay. So I analyzed it, brought it to my buyer. I made the final offer to the wholesaler, negotiated it, and we got it closed. And because we split it with the wholesaler, 7K is what the wholesale fee was, but it was actually a $3,500 check, which for me is fine because I, spent 2 hours, 3 hours doing it with a couple texts and calls. So this is the power of painless flipping. It's just relationships and knowing what people actually want to buy. And that was kind of like the whole process. So how do you become powerful in your market? Well, you let people know you can get offers super quick. Your buyers will, commit quickly. And, I don't know, you just have the best buyers in the area. So that's kind of a nutshell of what the painless flipping method is and how to do it.
Cool, man. I think this is really, really, really great way for someone who's just getting started. And like you mentioned in the beginning, if you don't have the budget to start doing your own acquisition, right? Start on the disposition side. Work with your buyers. Like I think I want to go back to kind of how like finding buyer. I think title company and hard money lenders, a lot of people don't look into that, but I think those are like probably two of the best ways to find buyers. Like that tells you these are people that are actually doing deals. If your title company puts you in touch with someone, or your hard money lender puts you in touch with someone, these are people that are actually doing deals. I mean, you could say, hey, I'm a buyer, but if you haven't actually closed anything with a title company or haven't taken hard money loan out, like, how serious of a buyer you are. So I love that idea of like focusing on the disposition and like basically providing the best service you can to both parties, like the wholesaler that has the deal and the contract, you're helping them out and you're connecting them with the right buyer. So it's a great way. I'm going to open it up for any Q&A that you guys have. Otherwise I can jump in with some questions.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of what you said is it's great for brand new investors that you want to get their feet wet or get a deal quickly. It's also good if you're a bigger company and you just let other wholesalers know that are newer or don't have the buyers that you have, that like, hey, I can quickly find, get a buyer for this. If you want a JV, if you want to split the deal, then you can go 50-50, 60-40, but it's really the person that has the best buyers wins, right? They're getting paid and getting paid the most, right?
Absolutely. What's your typical spread on what's your typical split on these with the wholesaler? So exactly how much the wholesaler has under contract for. Let's say if I'm a wholesaler and you come to me and like, hey, Sharad, I can help you wholesale this deal. Mm-hmm. So am I providing you information on how much I have this property under contract for, or how does that work? Like walk me through that conversation.
It's really interesting. And there's different scenarios, right? Like Sharad, if I was to reach out to you, you don't know me, and I say, hey, I can help you sell this deal I just saw you put out. Let's split it 50-50. For you, you don't know me. So you might be like, why would I split it with you 50-50? I'm trying to find my buyer. That's not worth it to me. I don't want to do that, right? You might not think it's worth it. So for me, when I reach out to you, I just say, hey, let me throw my fee on top. Or don't even worry about me, because my buyer I'll invoice my buyer at close and he'll just pay me through an invoice. So for you see the benefit of that because you're like, oh, great. It doesn't bother me. The spreads are usually like $3,000 to $5,000 when I'm reaching out. But when people reach out to me and have me JV, those spreads are bigger. Those are like, 20, like 15,000, 20, 25,000, because we're splitting it versus me adding my fee on top. I unfortunately can't just put get everyone to agree to do a split if I'm going to them. There's not as much urgency, or they might not see the value as if they come to me. So spreads are bigger if they come to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. So are you adding more value on the deals that are a little bit tougher to move?
Yes, yeah. So it's either the ones that are tougher to move or well, I don't know. We just did one last week where there was multiple offers, but our buyer was just willing to put down earnest money faster and sight unseen. So it's not always like we have the best offer, the deal's hard to move. It's usually like speed as well plays a big
Right.
part. It just
Speed
depends.
and also the terms, right? If you
Yeah.
have 5 offers and all of them are contingent on financing inspection, let's just say, and then your buyer comes in, 50,000 earnest money with no contingency, sight
Right.
unseen, then, I mean, if I'm wholesaling, I'm like, yeah, let's just go with this offer.
Right. And so the best price doesn't always win. It's just like you said, the terms that usually work. But again, just to let you guys know, the spreads usually are anywhere from 3 to 7 when you're just throwing the fee on top, because you don't want the buyer that you're working with like consistently to be rocking them every time. You want them to be having good deals as well, right?
So once you wholesale this property, let's say, I'm a wholesaler, you say, hey, Sharad, I'm going to bring you a deal, let's say a deal, you bring a buyer to me. After that, once we've closed the deal, I guess, are you doing some sort of an agreement with me in this case? Hey, you cannot go to my buyer directly. How does that work? I'm curious.
I don't do anything like that. I figure, hey, if I bring you the buyer and you can build a great relationship with that buyer as well, that's okay. But I think the benefit that I have is like most bigger wholesaling companies, they have like one dispo person or two, right? So, and they're constantly responding to emails and texts, and they're busy. They don't have the time to individually go after like talking to buyers on every single deal they have. So I'm not worried about them doing that. But if they do, good for them. There's really no
Right.
agreement.
Got it. And then, so when let's say I have a property under contract, I would wholesale and make it, let's say 20,000, and you decide you're going to add your fee on top of it because you feel like your buyer will pay more and I'm not, charging enough for it or whatever. I'm not asking enough for it. Is that going on the HUD statement? How are you getting paid?
No, so it depends again, like how you want to work out the JV. You can do a JV agreement and that would work on the HUD, right? Like, that would be the assignment fee. But the way that I do it is I just tell the buyer, hey, I'm just going to invoice you at when the deal closes. I'm going to send you an invoice. I'll sign it, you sign it, and we're going to send it to title. And when the deal closes, you're just going to pay me out as a consulting fee. So
Got
there's
it.
nothing on the HUD. It's not contractual. They could obviously not pay it, right? He signed it and I signed it, but it's not like I can't really do anything about it if he doesn't want to. I guess I could go to court, but it's not worth it for like 3,000, 5,000 bucks. So it's really just like building on trust and getting paid through an invoice. Like, and they wire you the money. The title company will facilitate it because it makes it seem a little bit more official. But once like you get pretty cool with your buyers, they can just write you a check personally. They can Venmo you. It doesn't really matter how they want to pay you, but it's in the beginning we do the invoice through the title, so it looks professional.
Got it. Okay. Do you ever get any pushback from the buyers? This is like very unique. Really, the first time I've heard.
Yeah.
Very creative way. But are you getting any pushback from the buyers? Hey, why should I invoice you? The seller should be paying you for this.
I would say, yeah, why should you invoice me? It's because, obviously I brought you the deal, I brought you the opportunity, but if you don't want to do that, no worries, like, no problem at all. And most buyers will see the value if you bring them a deal that meets their criteria that they can buy. And, I have not been not paid on, I haven't had someone say yes and then me send the deal and then them not pay me. And if it does happen, I'm not worried about it because I don't feel like those people will be in business for very long either, or they're just not worth working with. So, no pushback.
Right. So for someone who's starting out, let's say if I want to do this, I'm just starting out, what would be my ideal wholesaler to work with and who would be my ideal buyer to work with? So if I want to start, building my list of wholesalers and my buyers, and how many wholesalers and buyers would you say I really need to have, to just like start calling them and providing them really personalized service?
Yeah. So I would say 5 good buyers is all you really need. 5.
Really?
Yeah, you don't
Because,
need that
wow.
many because when you got 5, right, you're looking specifically for deals that meet that criteria. And then if you go to, I would say wholesaler, not new wholesalers, because new wholesalers, yes, they can maybe price the deal wrong and they're okay to network, but they're not going to have the volume that you need to like look through. So I would be focusing on working with wholesalers that do a lot of deals, right? Because then with the volume that they have, they can't go and focus on really moving every single one. They're relying on services again like InvestorLift, MailChimp, all this stuff to get responses. So I would reach out to those guys and be like, hey, look, the value that I can bring is, I can specifically dive in and look at deals and reach out to my buyers and find out why it isn't a deal, why it isn't. And that's exactly why this deal worked for me, because this buyer that I have, he's on the buyer's list he's on their email list. When I brought this to him, he saw that the deal was out for 425, right? But he was able to get it for 407. He didn't have the time he didn't think about making an offer that was lower or anything, but I reached out to him. He could have said to me like, hey, why would I work with you, Nate? I see that it's for 425. I say, well, are you going to make an offer? Like, what are you going to do? And, but because I told them the situation of that they're willing to take pretty much anything because they didn't want to flip it, that was valuable to him. And he was like, yeah, let's get it done. So I got him a deal way below what originally they were trying to sell it at because of the contact.
Right. Is your primary goal to help seller get the most money or buyer the lowest price?
My goal is to help wholesalers move their deals and help buyers get good deals. Okay. I'm not so concerned. Like a lot of guys, I'll just be like upfront and honest with you guys. Like I don't really, money's cool, but I like lifestyle, right? Like I used to have the bigger, the company, and we're doing like 7-10 deals a month. And it was a lot of work and kind of stressful, but for right now, like I don't really work that hard in my wholesaling, whatever you want to call us, like investing, real estate business. We look at a couple deals. I don't need to do a ton of deals. I'm totally cool with it. I teach people how to do this. So it's more lifestyle, right? Like I don't work on Monday. I walked my daughter in her stroller for like a couple hours this morning. Like you probably think I'm lazy. I sound kind of lazy, but it's just not so important to me to like be like grinding nonstop. I really want that lifestyle, and I can live it right now. I live a very frugal life. So does that make sense? It's more lifestyle.
No, it is, and it is totally respectable. Like I think it's a great way for yes, definitely for newbies, but even for experienced investors. You could have someone on your team do this for you. Exactly. They're dispoing your deal, but they could also help you dispo other wholesalers' deal, and then you make a little bit extra money on top of that. So I think that's really, really great way to get started.
Yeah. And a lot of the people in the Utah market, they do this. I don't know if anyone's here in the Utah market, but like a lot of the bigger wholesalers they'll try their list and then they'll just be like, all right, everybody go ahead, give it a shot. So this happens, right. This happens all over. And if you're not aware of it, then, I would start talking to some wholesalers and see how you can provide value to them, because nobody wants to work all that time in acquisitions to negotiate what they feel is a deal and then not be able to sell it. That's like the crappiest thing. It's like, oh my God, just worked so hard and didn't make even a dime. We actually lost money because of all the time we put into this.
Have you tried there's a question from Mag. Have you tried other markets besides Utah?
Yeah, of course. So Orlando, I just did a deal last week. We assigned within, like I told you, a couple calls in Orlando. This works everywhere. I have JV deals all over the country when I was doing nationwide, but now I'm focused in, Long Island, Florida, which is Orlando, and the Salt Lake City, Utah market.
And I'm curious, like why those markets? I mean, you could possibly do this like in any market, right?
You could do this anywhere as long as there's enough deals to look at, right? You don't want to be in the middle.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why there? Because, with the amount of deals that people can send you, you really just got to be focused on specific place, because it's very different. Like I get people still that are like, hey, I got a deal in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I got a deal in Tennessee. And the thing is, like, it's the opportunity cost. It's your time, right? It's like, well, if I start looking in Scranton where I don't have buyers and I got to like start from scratch, what I'm missing out on time I could develop other relationships or look at other deals here. So I stay in those.
And I think another reason I see why you want to be in really active market is because that's where you would have opportunity to really get your buyers to kind of spotlight some deals. if you're in a market, there's not a lot of investor activity and there's like one or two deals, very small market, one or two deals, those investors are looking at those deals in detail, so there's not that much opportunity. But if you're in a very, very active market, there's like, dozens of deals floating around from different wholesalers, and then your buyer may miss on some email or they miss on some deal, not be on top of the deal flow that's going on. That's where you're really coming in and adding value. Is that, would you say that's correct?
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Like this, the way that the day and age that where we live, where there's thousands of distractions. I think I read a statistic that every day someone is exposed to over 650 advertisements a day, right? So the chances of your email, your text reaching that buyer at that specific time that you really need, and you're just kind of crossing your fingers that they'll, out of all the emails, all the texts that they're getting, that they're going to respond. Yeah, I don't want to like run that risk. So like I said, I think specifically knowing your buyer and getting a relationship where they'll answer your call, that will help you make more money and sell more deals.
No, I love that, man. I mean, it's just basically reaching out to the buyer and saying, hey, this may have crossed your inbox, but you need to give it a second look. And this is why. You're just walking them through and saying, this is why, you may not have looked at this. So you may have focused on 425, but I can get you for 410, 415, where they were like, yeah, 425 is too high. They don't even want to bother like replying or making an offer at a lower price.
Agreed. Like
Yeah.
there's so many times when I had a wholesale deal that I would send out, I think I had it maybe at like 420. I'd send it out 450 and no one would offer. And in my mind, I was just like, dude, someone just make me an offer. Someone just make me a lower offer. I'll take it. And then you reduce the price. And then people like still are like, oh, well, why is it reduced the price? So it's, it's kind of a tough thing to navigate when you send out stuff and no one responds and you wish you could you just give it away. So you're right. But I'll show you guys really quickly. We have some time. I can show you how to I analyze deals.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be really great.
Okay, so this is a calculator that I built over time, and also a hard money lender has given me. This is how I analyze deals. So let's go over here to wholesale analysis. Okay, so let's run a scenario. A wholesaler sends me a deal and he says ARV is 550. Okay. And I always check, right? Because you wholesalers always, we inflate, and a lot of the time we pick the highest comp and just to make it work. But and then I see that the purchase price is 420, right? The way that I look at deals is you have your holding costs, right? You have your 12% interest for hard money, 2 points, 15% down. So you'd have to bring in a certain 63,000 on this deal. And right now I'm just running the numbers to see if this makes even sense. Okay. Let's say on this house, it's a medium rehab. So let's say it's 5 months from acquiring it to flipping it to listing it and having it sold, 5 months. Commissions, 6%, 3% to list it, 3% for the buyer's agent. So 6%, and 1% for the closing costs. The house is 2,000 square feet and it needs a medium rehab. So I go here, basic, you got basic, medium, everything. It's got the specific, the numbers per square foot, and I go medium. So according to this math, it's $2,000, 2,000 square feet times 48,000. I'm sorry, 24 is $48,000 rehab. And this one is like, if I know the exact bid, like it's going to cost, like if I know the rehab's actually 36,754, then I can just go here and go other. Okay. I want to make $15,000 on this deal. So that means if I got this at 420, I made $15,000, and these are all the right numbers. My flipper is going to make $10,000 on this deal. It's going to be like a 2% return on the deal. Nobody's doing that deal. So what I can do is I can reduce my wholesale fee to see if it's a deal. Okay, it's at 4%. Nobody's doing this deal. Okay, then I'm like, well, maybe that's this one. People start fluffing their numbers. They're like, well, maybe it's the rehab is basic and it's not. Or even basic is just a little bit tinier. So you're like, okay, it doesn't work. Now you got to start changing your purchase price, right? So the wholesaler sent it out at 420. It's still not that good of a deal for me. My buyers, the majority of my buyers want to be 10% and higher. They want between 10 and 20%. Obviously they want more than 20%, but if they're making and what the math on this, guys, is just basically if the ARV is 550, they want to make 10% of that. So they want to make a return of 50, what is that? 55,000.
Yeah.
55,000. So I have to get that number close to that for this to even be remotely something they'd be interested in. Okay, so that would make sense. Someone would do this, but I want to make more than 15. So you just change the numbers a little bit. And there you go, you're at 10%. So this is a deal. Someone would do that, right? This is for flippers, right? And if it's close to my 10%, like if it's at 9%, but it's something that's like up in the air, then it's something I would send to my guy, right? Because I know his numbers. So this is another thing that's really cool about knowing who your buyers are as well. Let's say you know a buyer who gets hard money at 10%, and he pays 1 point, and he's actually a real estate agent, so he doesn't have to pay to list it when he lists it when he flips it. So instead of it being 6%, he does 3%. Right? He just has to pay for the buyer's commission. So we just went from us being at 10% and it being an okay deal to, for this, my specific buyer, for it being a really good deal where I can still bring it to him. And I just doubled my wholesale fee, or I just went, he's still willing to do 10%. He's just able to pay way more than majority of people because he's an agent. His hard money's cheaper. He buys with cash, his own money. So do you guys kind of see the power of like knowing what your buyer does and what he spends and what he wants? And if he's a real estate agent, that's
so in this case, if the price is too high that the wholesaler is asking for, you go back to the wholesaler and be like, hey, I have a buyer, would you take this price?
Of course, yeah. So that's where kind of adding your fee on top that's kind of like the intro. That's like the intro of like how we talk to people, just so we just can proceed forward. But if I go to them and I say, hey, look, I ran this by a lot of my buyers. I know you said you're not getting any hits. I think you got a little too much. Really, the best that my buyers are willing to pay is, 380. And that's, and let's just split the deal because it's, I've had to work really hard on this one. I don't know if you want to like try and negotiate with them like after you agreed, whatever. But all I'm saying is, yes, you can go back and say, hey, this is the feedback I'm getting. And then that's when the wholesaler would say, oh, shoot, I only have it at 390. And then you'd say, hey, that's fine. Can you call and renegotiate and tell the person you're 100% solid at 360, and me and you will split 20K because I have someone at 380. And then they'd say, oh yeah, sure. Let's do it. And I'll give you an example. I had one of my students brought me a deal a couple months ago that the ARV was 325. He had it at 275, and he's like, hey, can you help me find a buyer? That's not a deal. You guys all know 325, 275 on a rehab, not going to work. So I said to him, bro, I just asked one of my buyers. I have a buyer at 200,000. You're at 275. You're 100,000. You're way, way higher than you need to be. Just call the seller and ask if you can renegotiate to like 280. 180. Okay. Cause he's at 275, go to 180, then we'd make 20, we'd split it. Right. And he's like, okay. So he called them. He's like, hey, sorry, I got my numbers wrong. I'm new to this. Can you do 180? And they're like, yeah, look, sure. That's fine. So why did they accept like pretty much $100,000 less? Is because they probably just thought he was a sucker. And they were probably like, hey, let's just go with the offer, because if it works, we just made bank and everyone else is lowballing us. So when it worked out. So sometimes sellers will just accept an offer, even if they know it's probably not legit, just in hopes that it will work. We probably do that all the time with buyers too. We're like, hey, let's just cross our fingers and hope they buy it. So yes, a very, very long response and answer to you, Sharad, but that's yes, you can go back and renegotiate, especially if you have a buyer that's ready at a specific price. All right. I think he might have had to go. So any questions, guys? I'm an open book. I want to help you out. If you like reverse engineering or, this method, I'm down to kind of give you as much information as possible.
Yeah, Nathan, quick question. How do you work when getting involved with someone like myself who's getting into the business, fairly new, just getting my feet wet? I'm looking from probably almost every perspective of the business, whether it's searching for the right acquisitions, then obviously learning to dispo in different ways, whether it's MLS or using investor lift. Like, how do you work with someone like myself?
There's so many different strategies, right? Like ways to go about it. You could do the acquisitions route, which I don't tell people to do yet. I tell them to learn this first, but you could just get some leads, start paying for marketing and start negotiating if that's what you want to do. It depends really the strategy you want and what you want to do. But what I do is I tell people is the way I work with people is say, hey, let's pick a market. Let's develop those relationships with those buyers. Let's go find those deals from wholesalers and agents, and let's start bringing them to our buyers, and let's start getting paid. Once you make money without spending any money on marketing, that's when you can reinvest into pay-per-click, lists, cold calling, really any lead gen you want to do. But that's my strategy. Did I answer your question, Raymond?
Yeah. I would love to talk to you a little bit more about that. I can also fill you in offline where I am and what I'm doing, but I definitely would like to talk to you. Is there a way that you can share in the chat your contact info?
Yeah, of course. If you guys want to schedule a call, it's absolutely free. Obviously it's about our program, but we're not going to hard sell you or say, hey, you need to join. It's if it makes sense, great. If not, no worries, but we could give you some more information about what you do. Is that cool, Raymond, if I share that link with you?
That'd be great.
And by the way, Nathan, it looks like you have another question in the chat from Dominic.
Okay.
About what you use to keep track of the level of detail for your buyer's buy box.
It's a great question. Let me put this in the chat. So if you guys want to schedule a call, you can do it here. And if you're not ready to schedule a call because you're like, hey, I don't know if I want to talk to this guy yet, but I like his strategy. I have a Facebook group as well that you can all join for free. And I'll show you what it's right here. It's called Payneless Flipping. I'll throw the link in here. And as soon as you join, it's going to just say, hey, do you want to join our masterclass? And then every Thursday, we actually dive in every Thursday at like 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We show you more in depth the model I just talked about. Like, so if you want to go to a free masterclass on this as well, I think this strategy is perfect for even if you're like extremely doing a ton of deals or you haven't done any. It's good because you're going to run into deals that the buyers will buy if you know who they are. Okay. Dominic said, what do you use to keep track of the so I keep track of it in my CRM, and I keep track of it on like a spreadsheet. The level of detail, I'm not gonna lie, guys, like I don't have like the prettiest organization on the buyers. It's really just through a CRM and keeping track. I know REsimpli, you can do it here with tags, and I just say specific buyer, specific area, and that's it. So really just keep track of it in your CRM or on a spreadsheet. Okay. Is it possible to share your spreadsheet in the chat? So I actually don't share this just for free because I've spent like quite a bit of money to build it. It's not only does it have how to do wholesale analysis, but also it shows you different options that you can present to sellers. It does novations, it does BRRRR, it does 1% rule. It does creative calculators for like what's it called? Seller finance, subject to, and it does like letter of intent. So it's very robust. So I don't share it, but sorry. But I'm sure I don't know where you get something like this. But next question. What other questions you guys have?
Nathan, I'm really interested in, I know that the members on this call are of all different levels of investing, but what I find really interesting is that this seems almost plug and play. I mean, it seems like there's not a lot of overhead involved. It seems like, some of the other members are even saying that, my wheels are spinning. I'm just thinking about a home office and spreading tentacles out throughout the country. I mean, it just seems like you could really rinse and repeat, but so much is dependent on your buyers. And I'm really curious, Nathan, and when you were first starting out, you mentioned that you went to a title company and you asked them,
And I'm a little curious, when you first started out, what was that hustle like for you to really build your buyers network? And up front, are these title companies, are they pretty, tight-lipped about that, or are they pretty comfortable in sharing some of that information with you?
Great question. It depends on the title company. Really, it depends on who you're reaching out to. So I'm going to show you guys who to reach out to and how to do it. But I also want to say this. So you all might be like, oh, Nate, you've been doing this for a long time. I'm new. I don't have the skill sets that you have. And it does take time to develop the ability to have the right conversations, but I'll show you guys right here on YouTube. So I have a YouTube channel. At the beginning of the year, let's see, me and my one of my employees, we said, hey, let's put this to the test. Let's go to brand new markets with no money, with no relationships. And yeah, so it was new market, no money, new relationships. Let's go get a deal within 30 days with no money. So we both did it. I got a deal in like 17 days and he got a deal within like 20 days. And it zero spend. He did a $20,000 deal that he split with the wholesaler, and I did the deal. It was like a $5,000 subject to deal where I got to keep 10% equity in the deal because the buyer that I worked with was like, I said, hey, I'm not making that much. Can I get a piece of equity in the deal? He's like, yeah, we'll give you ownership in the LLC that buys the property. So this worked in brand new markets. And if you guys want to see what that looks like, if you go to the Facebook group under guides, it's called the 30-day challenge. So if you click here, you can watch the 30 days where my employee did, like my partner I work with, and I did it. Mine's actually on like on the YouTube channel, but this you can find through here. And he has those conversations with agents. He has those conversations with title companies, so you guys can see how it's done. And then obviously, if you go to my YouTube channel, I really I just show everything I do. Like it's kind of crazy. I come out videos like every day because I just work and then I record myself and have someone edit it. But that's a long way to answer your question again. But how they respond, it depends. You have to reach out to investor-friendly title companies. But if you wanted to see how it worked, you can literally watch us do it for 30 days and it work and us get deals with no spend. And I'll show you. I'll send you this the YouTube channel if you guys want to subscribe, help me out, and you can see the videos of how we do this. Did I answer your question?
Absolutely, Nathan, and thank you so much. You've been quite the encyclopedia of just great assets to be sharing. I mean, there's a lot of material that you've compiled in what seems like a very short amount of time, and really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Let me leave you guys with this. I think this will help everyone in here. So you don't want to just call random title companies. You want to call investor-friendly title companies that actually know what you're talking about and they actually know who buyers are. So all I do is I type in the state where I am or the city where I'm looking, and then you go real estate investors, and then you should see tons of groups. So all you do is you go to the group, you type in title, okay? And then you'll see that there's people that have searched title companies to work with in the past. So you don't even have to think about it. And look at this right here. This is my title lady, and she pops up. She's the best. So I don't even remember putting that in there. Great. But who is the best Salt Lake City, Utah title company that is wholesale friendly? Okay. So right here, you click here. Who you got? Christina Mosier, the girl that I use. And she responds, Christina, hi, I'm here, call me. So you would call Christina Mosier. You'd say, hey, Christina, I got your information from Facebook. They say you're an awesome title company to work with. Jeremy Davis told me to call you. Do you have some time to talk? Oh, yeah, of course I do. Well, hey, this is the situation. Can you help me out? I'm really new or whatever. Just be honest. And there you go. And so that's how it would work. You would just use it this. And look, everybody loves Tiffany Ames at GT Title. You got Fidelity. So if I didn't know, have the number here, I could just go Fidelity Title in Utah, because I know it's investor friendly. Right here, I could click on, the website, start calling. So anyway, guys, yeah, I hope that was helpful to kind of show you like implementation, but that's all these videos are, guys. It's like us, we just show you, I think we share the screen the whole time and we show you how to do all this. So we're open books. We want to help people. And again, the reason why I'm so passionate about this is I don't want anyone to lose $10,000 on mail their first 3 months of wholesaling and not get a deal, right? That's a waste of time. Don't do that. You can spend your money in better ways.
Amazing, Nathan. Thanks again. Any other questions from the group for Nathan?
One last question. Nathan, do you see a lot more on-market deals happening or off-market from what you've been catching?
So I network with agents a lot, but agents, they're good to work with, but the relationship, I just don't think they come across as many opportunities as a wholesaling company would. So I'm not doing as many deals from real estate agents as I am from networking with wholesalers in these markets. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And have you come across any, if you have done agents, have you come across any agents that says no wholesale deals in Florida?
Yeah. So most of them will say no wholesaling. The way I navigate it is I get it under contract because I already kind of know I have a deal after I've analyzed it. And then before my due diligence is over, I just say, hey, obviously we went and saw the property. Everything's fine. Actually, I have another opportunity that came across that is a little bit better of opportunity, but I have a business partner that can take over this property. Everything's the same. Same purchase price, same everything. All I'm doing is I'm just going to assign the contract to him. So we just need to do an addendum. And if you just do that with confidence, then, it's worked great for us. No issues on that part. But if you, in the very beginning, you're talking to an agent and you're like, hey, I'm planning on wholesaling this deal. That's just as a red flag for an agent. They're just like, this guy isn't the buyer. He doesn't know. So I don't mess with deals unless I think they're good. And I assign them after everything's kind of done within the due diligence period.
The thing is that the agents, if they see like a signable contract on the deals now, they just assume that you are a wholesaler.
Agreed. Yeah. And I would feel the same way. So like I said, when I signed that original purchase agreement with the agent, I don't even talk about wholesaling. I give myself enough of an option, like a due diligence period to get my buyers through. And then before that's over, I have that conversation and say, hey, we're going to add an addendum on this. Everything's fine. We're just signing. So I don't even try to bring that obstacle up front because I think it'll kill the deal if they don't know who you are.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
That's why I like working with wholesalers a little bit more than agents, because you don't have to have that conversation. They know what you're doing. All right, guys. I hope that was helpful today. I probably threw a lot out at you, but like I said, feel welcome to watch the 30-day challenge, join the Facebook group and see how we do this, or schedule an appointment if you want to talk and see if we'd be the right fit to work with you. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
All right.
Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
everybody.
Thanks for joining.
Yep. Appreciate it.